I am Dracula.
If you would ask me what is my favorite creature, I would give you a whole list. Because I don't have a favorite one, but I think in top 10 it's a bat. Because bat is so creepy. It's a mammal that can fly. And it's ugly. And it's a creature of darkness. He's practically blind. And it's related to vampires. So it's practically perfect. Think it's just like me. Creature of the darkness. And I don't have not single one bat in my art collection. So this is the creature that I would like to create this week. So let's go crafting. Okay, so first I searched through my fabric stash and I found one fabric that might work for a bat's body. It's quite thick and stretchy, so it won't fry. Then I drew a rough sketch of what my bat might look like. I didn't look at any ideas on Pinterest because I didn't want to copy someone else's work. I wanted my brain to figure out what it should look like. Once I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like, I made a second, more detailed sketch to cut out as a template. The head and torso need 2 pieces, and arms and legs need 4 pieces, and the fingers are 6. I cut this out using a spell, then I cut it out from fabric, leaving a small seam allowance. This fabric doesn't fray. If you want to use fabric that frays, you'll need a wider seam allowance, and it's best to iron on some adhesive interfacing. When I have all the body parts ready, it's time to sew. I will go watch my TV show while I sew. I do this by hand, so it takes about 100 years, but you know how to sew, I guess, right? I left holes for the arms, legs, ears, and the connection between head and neck. At first, I also left the ends of the arms unsewn, but later I changed my mind and sewed them up. it's time for the wire skeleton. I am making it now, before I sew all the body parts together, because I can put it inside without any problems. Usually I make the skeleton first and sew the body parts onto it, but this time I wasn't going to make a skeleton. I changed my mind while sewing. I made ears first, inserted them in the head, then I inserted the wire into the body and pulled a generous amount of wire through the armholes, remembering that I need to make not only the arms but also 3 long fingers. I made legs with the remaining wire, but not too long, as I wanted to make the feet and claws from something other than fabric. Time for stuffing. Right now, we are experiencing the trust the process phenomenon. The project currently looks hopeless and I'd like to throw it in the trash and start over. But I've learned that you almost always have to continue because it's the details that makes all the difference. I magically sew the body parts together and changed the background at the same time. How do you like my dining table? Maybe the light will be better in this room? Now I need to sew those long fingers. Did you know that bat's wings are actually its hand? I took each of those long triangles and folding the fabric inward, sew around each wire. The bat's neck turned out to be too long, but a piece of fur should hide it. I cut it out on a cutting board because I don't want to ruin the table. I do this with a knife, being careful not to cut the fur. It doesn't have to be beautiful. I like the imperfect crafts. That's when you can see the true artistic spirit. I like artistic dolls that are smudged with paint, aged, with thick threads sticking out, and have strange faces. I like to use some cold porcelain I have left over from a dragon project. It was, I don't know how long ago, about a month I think. And this clay is sitting on my desk wrapped in plastic and is still in great condition. I highly recommend this clay for simple projects. I'd like to change its color, so I put on gloves and mixed some clay with brown and black paint, and it turned out grey. It seemed too light, but it dried much darker. I will make claws out of this clay. A large claw for the end of the arm and smaller ones for each fingertip. I shape them on a chopstick and poke holes so I can sew them later. Now I will make the legs. I need some kind of a skeleton for this because the clay itself is too soft. I am shaping the shin and 3 toes from wire. This looks like a butt has prosthetic legs. Then I covered it with aluminum foil to make the clay stick better. I covered the whole thing with clay and made holes at the very top so I could later sew the limb to the thigh. I didn't make the claws because I decided to wait for everything to dry so it wouldn't get damaged while it's set and dried. I wanted to add details like pads and knuckles, but the clay shrank as it dries, so I removed them. These legs are good for me. You might now notice the mistake I made when making the legs. A trained eye will spot it. I didn't realize it until later. Now I also made the claws and left them to dry. Time for his face. I made a shape out of aluminum foil so I could make the face on it, which I would then attach to the head. I also covered the aluminum foil with plastic wrap to be sure the clay wouldn't stick. I kept thinking about a name for my bed, and Vladimir kept coming to my mind because we had someone in this area who was the prototype for Dracula. His name was Vlad from Romania and he was a terrifying character, but the names Vlad and Vladimir are still used today. In Polish is Włodzimierz, but this form is probably too difficult for you to pronounce. Try Włodzimierz. Nietoperz, Włodzimierz. Vladimir the Bat is easier and vampire-y enough. I try to glue as few elements as possible because the clay sometimes come loose as it dries because it shrinks. I made the mouth with a tool and also made holes for teeth. The eyes are plastic dedicated for plush or crochet toys. I glued on the eyelids and added some details. I also glued on the nose. The top layer of clay has already dried a bit, so I chipped a bit to make them stick together properly. Finally, I made holes around the face to sew it to the head. Ever since I made this face, I've been like this. Because his bored face is perfect. I love it. Vladimir the bat. I left the face to dry and now it's time for the ears. I need to make them on these wires. This will make them movable and firmly attached to the head. First I made an ear shape out of clay, a little bigger because I need to wrap it around the wire. Then I used my fingers to create those grooves. Because I think bat has them. I think so. I don't want to look at the reference. I want it to be weird, straight from my head. Then I wrapped the edge around the wire, but the clay is heavy and soft, so I added a foil support while it dried. I was so focused on the work that I didn't notice I placed the remote on my workspace. That's what happens when someone has hyperfocus. And I've had it since I made the face. I wanted to see it finished as soon as possible. Finally, I added this weird thing that I think bats have. I think they do. Oh yeah, and I also made holes at the bottom of the ears to sew them into the head. You won't see their edges. Once the ears were dry, I sewed them to the head using the holes I made earlier. The most important thing left for Vladimir are his wings. I will make them from fine linen. I've used it before and I know it will be perfect. Light, stiff and good for painting. I traced the shape of the wings, folded the fabric and cut them out twice. Now I will go sit on a couch and sew all the edges, folding them twice to hide the ugly edge. The wings are finished. I'd like to sew them to the back, but the fur is in the way. I'd prefer fur to be on top, so I'm cutting fur off to attach the wings underneath. I will sew the wings to each section as well as the back with dark thread. And finally, I will sew the fur back on. is done. Time to sew all the clay pieces on. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. You can see the mistake I made. I didn't make any holes in the other leg. I didn't notice that before, but I will just use a drill. Now it's ready. I can go sew on the legs. Vladimir still looks like he has prosthetic legs, just maybe a bit more fancy. And finally the face. The holes were too small to bend the needle, so I went and drilled bigger ones. It was still difficult, but I managed to sew the face on. The last thing left to do was painting. I painted entire bed with very diluted dark brown paint. I painted the clay elements black and then dry brushed them. Once everything dries, I will put on one layer of varnish. If you are still here, I'd like to thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, leave a thumb up, leave me a comment, and we will see each other in the next episode. Bye! Subscribe.